Hello and welcome to Dynamic Divas, where we spotlight incredible journey of women in the field of technology with a focus on Microsoft Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. I am Rachit, your host for the show. I am a brown man in my early 40s. My pronouns are he, him, and today I am wearing a blue jumper with big Seattle written over it because my guest is from Seattle today. And I have short hairs, I'm wearing my glasses, and I have a virtual Microsoft Dynamics 365 background. Today we have Anne Krupke joining us from Seattle. Anne is a Microsoft Senior Product Marketing Manager, and before joining Microsoft, she also worked in the industry for various Microsoft partners, and she has a bachelor's in industrial engineering. She's an expert in supply chain management and manufacturing domain and does a lot of contributions in by doing tech talks, by creating helpful content for customers who are using Dynamics 365 platform and consultants across the globe. So without any further ado, Anne, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thanks. I'm doing great. I'll do a quick accessible
Sure.
introduction as well. I'm
Yeah.
Anne Krupke. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a white woman with brown hair that's in a bun today. I'm wearing a green sweatshirt and some over-the-ear headphones, and I'm coming to you from my office, like Ratchet said, in Seattle, Washington.
Great. Thanks, Anne. So, Anne, can you talk us about your journey from industrial engineering to senior product marketing manager? It has been would have been a lot of different experiences across the way and few challenges you might have faced. So, can you maybe talk us about your journey in the world of technology and uh, also getting into Microsoft and how does it feel about working for Microsoft? Yeah.
Yeah, I think to sum it up, my career is the epitome of this statement. It's a jungle gym, not a ladder. So I actually started out in material science and engineering when I was in school, and I found that I wasn't really sure it was something I wanted to continue into, and I worked in a manufacturing facility for a few semesters on and off, and I got my Lean Six Sigma green yellow belt, and I just was completely fascinated with the way that the logic works, and I realized that I could switch to industrial engineering, which is all about making things more efficient, making them run better, especially in a manufacturing environment. So I got the degree and I walked away from school thinking, I want to work in technology. I want to work in consulting. I want to work with companies that want to make things better. So I saw a job posting for it was a like a post-college grad program at a partner called Ebex. It said manufacturing or lean specifically, and then it said consulting, and it said Microsoft, and I was like, okay, I'm sold. Um, and so I started out as a functional consultant for Dynamics 365, focusing, like you said, on manufacturing. And then after that, I did switch a bit into pre-sales. Like I dipped my toe in as as a small thing, and then I decided I wanted to do pre-sales, which was a really interesting shift from doing Dynamics implementations because you get to do things a lot more rapidly and kind of get a lot of different experience with customers. And it was around that time that I started participating in the Dynamics community as well. I spoke at my first summit and started doing webinars, and I just got really kind of excited about sharing what I know with other people. Um, and then after I did pre-sales for a while, I went and did engagement management. I really mean jungle gym, like all over the place. So I managed accounts for a while. And then I had a former colleague of mine, Nicole Gump, who I'm sure you're familiar with as well. She had
Yes.
gone to Microsoft, and she said, we need somebody with manufacturing experience. I think you'd be a great fit. I'd love for you to interview for the FastTrack team. And since we're talking about challenges, I'll actually say so I talked to the hiring manager, and I said, you know, this is what I know, and he said, oh, that's great. Like I think you should apply, and I didn't apply. And I was like, I don't think I'd have enough experience. I'm not old enough. I was 25 at the time, so I didn't apply. And I
Yeah.
waited 6 months, and Nicole reached out to me again, and she said, "Anne, I we haven't filled the role. I think you'd be great for it. You should apply." So I
Right.
did, and I got the job.
Wow. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that is a common thing. Like when you mentioned, like when people are fresh out of college and even the opportunity comes, they don't feel very confident that yes, they can do it. Even though they have the skill, it's more about that confidence. And then someone like Nicole is encouraging you, and you need someone around you who can motivate you to go for it, take the opportunity, and try your best. And then rest is like success is on your path. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So
So
when
how
you were like, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
just, yeah, it took a lot of support from the folks around me and my mentors to really say, "Go for it. What are you gonna lose?" And you'll figure it out, and I ended up figuring it out. Here I am still
yeah,
at Microsoft. So
true. So when you were like joining tech companies and you had that industrial engineering and manufacturing experience, were you like worried about joining a tech company because it requires a lot of coding skills, or were you thinking that, oh, I don't know coding, will I be able to survive there? Because there are a lot of people who think tech companies are all about coding and development, but that's not really true. So were you having those type of thoughts?
no, I think, because I started on a functional track, and when I got going, they really explained it was more about being able to configure the system to meet business needs, and I had worked with, other similar softwares in my previous experience, so I didn't personally feel like I needed coding, but I think it is really important to understand that you don't need to be, developer technical in order to be in the biz apps world, especially with Power Platform. But I think for me, coming in fresh out of college and not knowing ERP at all, it's kind of something that's a little stigmatized in the industry because you want a senior resource implementing, you want somebody who knows what they're doing. So it really helped me that I had a background in manufacturing because we were doing ERP for manufacturing customers, and while I couldn't necessarily couldn't tell them how to configure the manufacturing module, I would walk the shop floor with them and I would say, "Oh, are you doing kanbans over there, or are you doing that?" And I knew how manufacturing operations worked, so they trusted me. And then my first project I came on during user acceptance testing, so I didn't have to do any design. All I really did was I walked around the floor and I checked in with all of the super users and said, "Hey, what's your problem?" And I'd write them down, and then I would go back and sit with my senior consultant and say, "Okay, how do I fix these?" And it built trust, and I was able to add value, and I started building that kind of incremental understanding of the system. So I think it's really important to just kind of get your foot in, and you're gonna figure it out as long as you just stick with it and are willing to learn.
True. So I take like the key takeaway is like once you have a domain knowledge, even though you don't know the product, you can always figure that out. But once you know the industry and the domain and the processes, you can always talk to the business and understand the pain point and bring your experience to the table, create a confidence in them that yes, you can deliver. And lot of fresh people who I meet is like who have recently graduated, they focus more on learning the product rather than the domain. And that's
Yeah,
where I point them to the business process guides and the catalogs which you and Rachel are working on. And I tell them, first read this, understand what is an order to pay process, what's procure to pay, how does order to cash work or acquire to dispose work, then try to map it to the product. Because once you build the domain knowledge, you can talk to the business will
yeah,
understand business language, not the product language. So that is
I
something which
definitely
is,
agree.
and that's a perfect example of what you're saying. Like because you had that background, you were able to succeed in those challenging situations.
Yeah, I think too it's important to think about anybody who's had a job knows how businesses work, right? Whether you worked in a restaurant, you understand taking an order, you understand the order to cash in a restaurant context, right? I take your order, I put a ticket into the kitchen, they make your product, your item, your meal, right? And then I deliver it to the table, and then I give you the check, and then you pay me, right? So that's order to cash in your context as a server. Or if you work in a retail store, then you understand a little bit about demand trends and inventory management, and again, like order taking at the cashier stand. And I think that something I've noticed is just that a lot of times, like, so I've been working with Tech Fluent, which is a nonprofit that helps people from marginalized communities get jobs in the biz app space. And some of these people, they're, they're immigrants, and they'll say, well, I don't have relevant experience. I don't have ERP experience in the US. I won't be able to get a job. But, they've been a customer management associate, right? Or their customer rep. They a CRM process, right? Or you have these experiences in all of your previous jobs that are a facet of what biz apps can do. And you shouldn't undervalue your non-product experience, in my opinion.
That is so true. And it's like people sometimes don't realize the knowledge they have and where it can actually be applied also. So as you perfectly gave that example of working in a restaurant where you understand the whole order, and even the kitchen is like a small manufacturing unit where they are assembling and putting things, and then they are creating a
Yeah,
dish. And
there's
I
whole
also give
ISV solutions out there for it.
yes, and similar, like even in your house, like if you go to your kitchen, you can see, okay, it's a small warehouse. You are doing
Yes.
picking and you are doing refilling. If your sugar is low in the box, you go to the pantry and refill sugar. So you can actually relate a lot of things in your day-to-day
Yeah.
life.
I actually was joking with my husband the other week about a household ERP, which literally, like, you could do an MRP for your fridge and FIFO for your produce. And he looked at me and he was just like, you like what you're doing way too
We're
much.
too deep in dynamics and business now.
Yeah,
No, I think
exactly.
that's it's actually these type of real life example helps people to understand the concept. So if
Yeah.
you talk about warehouse processes and you give an example from your kitchen, people will actually understand it better than rather you talk about aisles, bins, and moving between the warehouse locations.
Yeah.
So it actually helps. So one key thing is also coming out is like there can be many people who are working in the real business, and if they are looking for a next good opportunity for their career, and if they have interest in the technology space, they can actually build a career in Microsoft Dynamics 365, because this is a business application, a solar system, right? You doesn't matter which department, industry, organization you work, you can always transform yourself into a technical tech space where you become a consultant or analyst or a profile of your interest, and you can look up at Microsoft Learn. You get a proper structured course which you can go through. You can give certifications that helps you to uh, stand out in the job interviews, and be a part of community. Like there are so many communities and user groups initiatives which are working towards spreading the knowledge, sharing the knowledge, and helping people to grow in their career space. So yeah, I think these are some really great things which come out of this discussion. Cool.
Yeah.
I also wanted to hear from you, how was your experience working in the fast tracking team? Because for me personally, I really respect everyone who works in the fast track team, because they are the one who are taking a lot of pain away from partners and customers, and they help us do the things in the right way. I mean, it's a very tricky role to be into, because not everyone understands the role of a fast track solution architect in an implementation. You may get pulled into a situation, or you may ask questions which are not actually relevant to your role, but you still have to do it because you are helping them to drive the project. So first of all, a big thanks to all the fast track architects working across the globe tirelessly, helping us to deliver the project successfully. But how was your experience working in that team?
Yeah, I think, I mean, first of all, thank you for the kind words about the Fast Track team. I wholeheartedly agree. I learned so much in the 2 years I was in Fast Track. Actually, a lot more about the technical side of how the product works. Before I'd gone to Fast Track, I'd never even provisioned an environment before. And now I can talk about, integration patterns, best practices, or performance improvement. Like, it was really a role where every fast track architect needs to be a generalist and a specialist. And it's an organization of just really, really smart individuals who are passionate about having successful implementations in the ecosystem. So you've got I was a functional SME for manufacturing and supply chain, and you've got people like, Rachel. Well, Rachel knows everything, so she's not a great example, but she's got finance and HR. You've got folks like Ajay Kumar Singh, who's just like a whiz at performance, or JJ Yadav, who
Yeah.
knows everything about data lake. And it was really interesting to kind of have to beef up my own skill set to be broad, but also getting that opportunity to talk to all of these customers about my specialist area, which was supply chain, was a really great learning experience. And I think that's where FastTrack is such an important program because it allows Microsoft to connect to literally thousands of our customers and understand our challenges and pain points and implementations and kind of bring that information back and aggregate it so that everybody benefits, customers and partners. So I think the program is amazing, and the work that they do is great.
100% agree. And one thing which comes out of this is also that there are so many different areas where you can build your expertise. You are not only a finance consultant, but you can also be a person who is expert in electronic reporting, for example, and configurable business document. From a technology side, you can be a very smart person in development or integrations or data migrations or dual write data reporting analytics. So this platform of Dynamics 365 is actually creating opportunities for people in such a wide uh, buffet of opportunities and skill set, right? And once you can then identify your area of interest and say, okay, I'm someone who knows HR processes, let me go really deep into the HR processes, build my niche, build my expertise, build my brand. And then as you continue to work, you start learning other frameworks also. So I I like that. Like I heard that, okay, there is a thing called a T-shaped skill set. So when you have a depth in a particular area, and then you have a width of your specialization where you understand a bit of everything. So identify your interest, and you can build a skill. And as you mentioned, like even in fast track team, there are people who may be expert in performance tuning, someone is expert in manufacturing, someone is expert in finance, and when they all come together, they create these magical solution. So yes, this, and that's another thing, is like this platform is always evolving, right? Microsoft is
Mhm.
investing so much in it. So it's it's in line with the latest technology trends. It offers you best of the breed upskilling options, not only from a business perspective but also from a technology perspective. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's been a really interesting shift as we've gone from on-premise to cloud ERP and this kind of evergreen solution. And I've watched the consulting, like the partner channel, and even our customers, our live customers, I've watched them figure out how to adjust and adapt because I think that for a lot of consultants, I know people who have been on the same project for 5 years, right? And when you're in that project configuring, master planning for this one customer, it's really easy to just focus in on making it exactly how they need it. And it can be really hard to keep up with everything that's coming. But I would say that it's really important to prioritize learning time, especially to keep up with what's coming down the roadmap, to try it out, um, to kind of just know about something new, and then find the ways that you can integrate that into existing users or keep it with you as you go forward.
agree. Yeah. So if someone is starting their career new in Dynamics 365 space, so it can be either a person who is graduating from the college or someone who has an experience in a particular industry, in a particular profile, and they want to learn Dynamics 365. What will be your few suggestions on how they can start their journey in the field of uh, this Dynamics 365 business application space?
I would say, I mean, Microsoft puts a lot of great resources out there, and I think that figuring out what area you're interested in, picking something specific and going for it. So it could be Power Apps, or it could be Dynamics 365 Finance, or it could be sales or field service. Um, but and I think it helps to pick, again, something that's relevant to your prior experience, even if it's not software related. If you can say, I feel some sort of a understanding of how sales processes work, let me take a look at sales. And then focus on building your knowledge in that area. And then when you start talking to companies or you're interviewing, really connect with how a system helps the process, because you know how the process works, and that's more important than anything else. So, um, like you said, it's T-shaped, right? You want to be enough of an expert at what you're doing or what you're trying to get hired to do that you can be trusted to kind of do it yourself, maybe with some guidance, versus kind of saying, I have every single certification. And nothing against anybody who has all of them, because that's really impressive to be able to study
Right.
and learn it all. I think from a practical experience perspective, having a focus and understanding of a particular area is going to help you, build that foundation that you can then start adding more things to.
That's a great advice, and I'm sure that will help a lot of people who are trying to get into the industry and in this tech space. Um, how are you using AI, and what do you think how AI is going to impact the future of business applications?
That's the big question, isn't it?
We have
Um,
to talk about AI if we are talking about anything in the space
okay.
of Microsoft. Yes.
Yeah, I'll say I have so my I guess we didn't really talk about my current role, but I've been in product
Yeah.
marketing for Dynamics 365 finance and supply chain management for the past 6 months or so. Which means my job has changed a lot, my function. So I help write blog posts, I make PowerPoints. I also, I do presentations. So I do a lot more kind of like not implementation work. So just more like productive. I'm oh my gosh, I am like the target productivity user of Office 365. So I use Copilot. What I've started doing is when we have like a new feature coming, for example, demand planning just became generally available, right? So I'll
Yes.
make
Making
a
use.
big Word document of everything about demand planning, right? So here's the capabilities, and here's people who would want to use it, and here's why. So I'll just put it all in a Word document, and then that becomes like the heart and soul of everything I do. I'll say, hey, Copilot, take this document and write me a blog post announcing the general availability of the capabilities in it, right? And then I'll go in and I'll edit it, and I'll say, okay, well, that's not real, and I'll fix it. But I do a lot of using it to like either create word copy or like in PowerPoint, kind of things like that.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot to accelerate your time to market. Like you can always ask Copilot to do the initial foundational creative work, and then you can review it, fine tune it, make sure it's correct, and then you can publish it. I use it
Yeah.
as well sometimes to write my blog posts or create some announcements, and I think it really is helpful. I think it makes your message more powerful. It can bring in that flavor which you want to actually convey to your audiences. So it definitely helps a lot. And we can see a big wave of co-pilots coming in Dynamics 365 business applications as well. So it
Yeah.
will reduce a lot of manual work which people used to do and help them to be more productive during their day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking too, because I've seen some, I don't know, Reddit posts recently. I just try to keep my thumb on kind of what the general public is saying about stuff. And
Yeah.
there's some people who they're talking about how like Copilot likes to use, or AI, ChatGPT, any of them, they like to use the same kind of words. So they're like, if they use the word burgeoning, I don't think I've ever said that word out
Purging?
loud, but
Purging?
burgeoning, it means like
Yeah.
growing.
Ah,
Yeah, so it's not a frequently used word in conversation, right? I
right.
really don't think I've ever said that word out loud.
Yeah.
Or delve, or like it's like here's the list of top words that's just like the usage in media started spiking since GPT came out. And so they're like, so now anytime I see that word, I know it was written by AI and I just throw it out. And on
That
the
is so
other
true. Yeah.
But on the other hand, I have a mentee, Marin, who she actually wrote a blog post about this. She and I had talked about kind of the story, but she said for her, because she's an immigrant, English isn't her first language. She's brilliant, by the way. This woman has so much empathy, and just brilliant. But so she really likes using Copilot because it helps her say what she wants to say. And I think that this angle of, Copilot can be an equalizer for all of us who have, different skill sets. I think that we don't talk about that enough, right? I know there's a lot of people worried about Copilot's gonna come for my job, and, but I think that you have to celebrate the good things about it. It's helping people say what they mean. It's helping people connect and kind of break down barriers and, learn more and grow. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. I agree. Technology will keep on evolving, right? It will also create new jobs. It will also create new opportunities. People who know AI will have a more impactful and successful career going forward. So it's an opportunity for people to learn as well. So I definitely agree with what you said. AI is going to change the way we work, but it's doing it in a good way. And with all the responsible AI principles in place, and people who understand AI will help companies to adopt to it. So there will be a shift where how companies operate nowadays. Um, Great,
Yeah.
that's a great insight. So we are coming towards the end, and do you have any closing remarks for the people?
Oh, man. I think just oh, this is kind of silly, but I'll just borrow from the way we talk at Microsoft. Be a learn it all, not a know it all. I know I like to talk about a lot of the things that I know, but I one of the reasons I've had so many jobs in my short career is because I like learning new things, and I think that it really serves you well. I'm sure, Ratchet, for you,
Yeah.
becoming an MVP was really fueled by your learn it all attitude. And I think it's something that we can all kind of embrace, especially with these new waves of capabilities coming out.
Yeah. Thanks, and yeah, totally agree. And that's what will keep you going in tough times as well. Like you have to have that attitude of all learning all the time, embrace the change, and be curious, be creative with what you are doing. That will definitely help people keep moving. So thanks, Anne, for joining us. And
Thank you
as we
for
wrap up
having
this
me.
episode, yeah, we'll wrap up this episode of Dynamic Divas. And thanks a lot for joining. And we wish you all the best in your role. And for our audiences, please stay tuned. And we are bringing more empowering stories on Dynamic Divas, where we celebrate women in technology.